Hello and welcome back to another Demis Hellen tutorial. Today we're going to talk about mid and side and how to retain detail in your synths in the lower portions without it conflicting with the bass too much. It's a good mixing technique. You don't have to use it every time, but it's something to consider when you think things are clashing and your synths are starting to sound a little bit too thin because you've done too much EQ chopping. And you can see it at work now. It's quite warm. There's no bass line in this demo. It's just been copied out from another project. Yet it sounds nice and full, and I'm going to show you how I've done that. So this EQ here comes at the end of the chain of shaping for this sound in the middle. So it's playing the bass at this moment, but later on in the track it plays some like stab chords in there. And what I'm doing here is using the mid to remove the mid in that lower section. So it's just leaving the stereo detail, the sides. And what that's doing is keeping and retaining that low end whilst it's actually not focused that hard in the mid section, giving chance for the basses to actually breathe and operate in that area. But then this becomes like a support to that bass. And I'm going to show you now using the A-B feature what the difference is between using a mid cut and using a standard stereo cut. So if you're listening to this and I start to drag this up, everything is just on the sides detail. So if you're listening to headphones right now, you'll only hear side information. You're not going to hear any like mid detail because we've removed all that signal out of it. Yet it's still warm, still feels bassy. And this is the trick. Once you've removed the problem area where you think it's a bit too boomy because it's operating with the bass line, this becomes a nice little mixing tool. So if we have that set there, it still sounds warm, still sounds dynamic, still sounds really, really lush in the rest of the mix. But it's not conflicting with your bass. However, if we go to the standard stereo and we start to remove this cut roughly the same, we lose the bass. It sounds like it's been turned down and it's just lost its power. And the reason for this is because it's cutting out the side detail, the mid detail, and it's just operating left and right. So it's basically cutting your volume at these frequencies. So it's just removing them entirely and your synths start to sound nasally and thin, and then this whole melodic section doesn't sound as appealing. So switching back to the mid section, you've got that warmth, but you've removed roughly the same. So 87 Hertz there. Let's do this to 87. And switch back. Much warmer. It's got more control over that low end, and it just sounds fuller. So that's one trick that I always use. Now another one, if you're blending synths together, and you want some of them to have a little bit of low detail and some to have a little bit more punch in, say, the breakdown, so there's no bass line playing, just the synths, then you can use this same trick but reverse the effect. So if we use this Pluck Stars demo, and we'll launch another Pro Q3 here, and as you can see, this one's focused a bit higher up the spectrum, so we could roll that off just to neaten it up a little bit. Sounds good. But what we can do is, if we wanted only this bit really to be the focus, but we want to retain this detail to make it sound a bit warmer and thicker, but only have that as the focus, we can use the side detail. So I'm just going to copy that over, and we'll go head over to B, and we'll change this to side. Remove that there, and as you can hear, it's all focused in this area, but below this has all become mono because we've removed the side detail. So we've done the opposite to what we just did with the other sound, where we use mid to remove the mid of the sound and used to leave the stereo. This is actually the opposite way around. And this can retain information still. It sounds a little bit weird on its own, but you can remove some of the detail like that, so it becomes mono in that section here and focuses more here, but you're retaining that dynamic detail a bit lower down as well. And then you can do some boosts up here, and if you wanted it a little bit more mid here, and you've focused your area, but you haven't lost all this detail in the bottom. Again, if we copy that over to A and change this to a stereo standard placement, it becomes thin, nasally, and you've just lost the character of the sound. It's just some top detail and nothing more. Whereas the other setting, you've retained all that lower detail. So let's have a listening context. First things first, we'll do the stereo one. Quite nasally. Yeah, it's fading in, it's not too great, but switch it over. You retain that mid-range detail. There's a lot happening in that area, but it's not overpowering, and it just blends the two sounds together nicely, because we have this sine melody at the top, and then we have this one on, and if we switch that around again, it becomes nasally, loses character, doesn't sound good, and then you'd be tempted to add more plugins into the mix and try and beefing it up again, when you could just simply do some tricks like this. So I just want to add, these are from the Euphoric Trance pack that I did. I'll put the link in the description down below. These two presets here at the top are, this one is available free on the website under Pluck Stars for Massive. So that brings this tutorial to a close. Let me know down in the comments, do you use mid and side? Are you going to use it more now you've seen how to blend these together? There's so many things that you can do it, but that's kind of some of the simpler techniques, and you're only making micro adjustments really, rather than starting to fill up your inserts with full of plugins, trying to get that nice warm sound, but kind of not bassy at the same time. There's a lot of things that you can do to do that, but that is one of my main tactics. And finally, hit like if you think it deserves a like, and also subscribe. 3 videos per week, and you'll be the first to be notified. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.